Right, it's the second week of the UN Climate Change Conference in Brazil, one that has brought together world leaders, activists, and experts in a push to tackle the worsening climate crisis.
The European Union had earlier pledged to cut its greenhouse gas emissions by 90% by 2040, an agreement which at its core reflects concern over the continued ability of Europe's forests to act as a carbon sink.
William Denselow files us this report for CNA from Denmark, a nation taking big strides to expand its forestland.
Once used for agriculture, this area near the Danish city of Aarhus is being converted into forests. Part of a $6 billion government push to convert 10% of farmland into natural habitat. The idea is to cut the use of fertilisers that seep into the groundwater and severely deplete oxygen levels, harming marine life. Mads Flinterup is the head of climate and biodiversity for the nature management firm Helderskaper. He says this afforestation plan will breathe fresh life to Danish waters and to the country's climate ambitions.
If we take the carbon-rich soils and make them wet again, then we will have better carbon sequestration in them. And where we do afforestation, the trees will sequester the carbon, and that will also mitigate the climate crisis.
The European Union has pledged more than $700 million to support landowners who participate in this environmental transition.
Through projects like this, the Danish authorities plan to plant 1 billion trees over the next 2 decades. This scheme is slowly taking root, but the European Union's anti-deforestation plans are struggling to get off the ground.
Back in 2023, the EU adopted a landmark proposal that would ensure palm oil and other imported commodities are sourced from vendors that don't contribute to deforestation. But implementation has stalled, with the new law at risk of further delay, or worse, put on the chopping block. Some lawmakers want more time to mitigate disruptions and avoid economic shocks. But Helena Wright, policy director at the investor network Fair Initiative, says this uncertainty is harmful for trade and the environment.
A lot of people are emphasising, obviously, the geopolitical context and security are coming up as big issues. But there was a lot of people from the business community and others pointing out we need to maintain the focus on climate and on deforestation, and we need to maintain those.
Uncertainty is also a criticism levelled at the EU's 2040 target to cut 90% of carbon emissions compared to 1990 levels, largely because of so-called flexibilities, such as the break clause, to soften the target should Europe's forests fail to absorb enough carbon dioxide to compensate for industrial pollution. In the past decade, climate impacts and increased logging have caused the amount of CO2 absorbed by trees to fall by a third. Proponents say they're being ambitious while staying pragmatic. But Lena Schilling, a member of the European Parliament for the Green Party, calls it a weakening of the bloc's climate credentials.
What we do is not to take the ambition to strengthen our forests, to have the deforestation regulation, to have forest monitoring. No, we just weaken our own targets and then be like, yeah, but with the forests we have a problem. So just weaken the targets and not take action, and that's so senseless. You could never explain it to a child or your daughter or whomever.
Schilling is among lawmakers pressing for the bloc to deliver on commitments it's already made. Meanwhile, countries like Denmark are forging ahead with their own climate initiatives, hoping to keep Europe's broader environmental targets on the right path. For CNA, I'm William Denselow in Aarhus, Denmark.